Hello, everyone, and welcome into CrushTheStreet.com. I'm Kenneth Amaduri, and I'm joined today with a new guest on the show, and I've been meeting a lot of interesting people here on YouTube and in the crypto sphere, and this is someone new who's come onto the scene here. He's opinionated, and he's a smart guy. He goes by Ozzy the BS Filter, and you can find him on YouTube. And you know what? He's a crypto enthusiast. He's a Litecoin miner, and he's a blogger here on YouTube. And we're going to have a great conversation today. Lots to talk about, especially with developing news here in cryptocurrency and especially Bitcoin. Ozzy, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure's all mine, man. Thank you.
You know, I actually just got a shipment in the mail of some Zimbabwe reserve banknotes. I'm looking at a $50 trillion bill. I got a $100 trillion bill. Of course, if you go back in history, but to 1980, one Zimbabwe dollar was worth one US dollar, and in 2008 they experienced like 80 billion% inflation in November of 2008. And you know, Bitcoin has been one of those things that are usurping the central banking system, the banks in general, the fiat currency system. And it was something that really piqued my interest because I was a gold bug, and I still love gold, but this was another vehicle to store my wealth, and this is what it piqued my interest. And so let's get your thoughts on Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and how you got involved with it.
Well, I kind of share the same story as the Zimbabwe thing. I have an uncle in the Middle East who was a wealthy guy, and then he lived in Lebanon, and he got a little old, so he sold everything and put it in the bank. And in the early 80s, Lebanon went through some bad experiences, and he woke up he went to sleep worth about $10 million. He woke up worth about $20,000.
Oh my God!
Was flat broke within about 2 months. And this is something that stuck with me for a very long time. And as like you, I am a gold and silver bug. If you have ever seen any of my videos, I actually show them off a little bit. I was in the hospital about 2 years ago, and it was real boring in there. And the guy next to me had the news on, and another thing came on Fox News about Bitcoin. So I just sitting there bored on my phone, I Google it, and I was in there 7 days. I got about 2 hours of sleep in those 7 days.
Wow.
I was reading on it, researching it. By the time I left, I had ordered through eBay on my phone a whole mining farm. I had signed up to Coinbase, about 12 grand worth of Bitcoin. I was in love with it. I was heavy into it for a good year, and that's when I decided to this needs to be spread. This is our freedom, our protection, our hedge from governments. Because you see what happened to Zimbabwe, what happened to Lebanon, what's happening right now in Syria. This is not the central bank or the banking system. This is people. People are in charge of the governments. People are in charge of the central bank. People. And these people screw up. So why is my wealth tied to another human being that might do something wrong to another country, that might we did something to Russia a couple years back, hurt their economy. So the perfect hedge in the world used to be gold. Bitcoin came along and said, no, I'm here now. And I would like to see Bitcoin expanded even further. I'd like to see the blockchain in the voting system. I'd like to see it in government spending. I'd like to see the DMV, real estate, where our tax dollars are being spent, everywhere.
Yeah. Well, that's a powerful statement you said there about Bitcoin sidestepping gold. I know that'll be controversial, but it is interesting to see what Bitcoin has been able to do, and really be a tool for people around the world to get their money out of banking controls in Venezuela, Argentina, Greece, Cyprus, and these countries who are just experiencing these horrible economic situations, and they're able to put their wealth into something like Bitcoin and literally walk across the border, turn their computer or their phone on, and have access to their wealth anywhere they want all around the world. So that is a powerful thing that we are now seeing in Bitcoin. Any more thoughts on that? I want to get into this Jamie Dimon thing. Any more thoughts on that?
Well, you're being really nice by calling him Jamie Dimon. On my show yesterday, I called him Jamie Demon. He's a demon, and this brings us back to the subject we're talking about now. Bitcoin is a threat. Not only is it a hedge for us, it is a threat to the governments and the corporations that have been enslaving us for years. And you're going to see a huge war. And the war started. The war started about a month ago when Visa and MasterCard told these Bitcoin card companies that you got to stop. We're not going to accept these. The war started. You're going to see people from the big banks, the big corporations, hating on Bitcoin. And he went overboard. He called us murderers. He called us drug dealers. Fraudsters. I mean, he just went all out. And the only reason he would use that kind of language is because it's hurting his pockets. It's hurting Chase, JP Morgan's pockets. Let me explain to you how. Average mom, average pop, Grandpa Joe, whatever, is calling them up and saying, you know what? I want to invest a little bit of my portfolio into Bitcoin. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but we don't do that. Okay, do me a favor. Sell my portfolio and send me my cash tomorrow. Last month, 30 billion left the stock market. 30 billion.
Wow.
You're going to see it increase every month. And Fidelity woke up to it. A couple of them woke up like, wait a minute, we better adapt this or we're going to be at the end of the line. But old school establishment corporations cannot in any way say anything to give it any legitimacy or credibility. But the demon yesterday did. He gave it all the credibility, all the legitimacy it needed by him degrading it. Because anytime establishments degrade, that means it's putting pressure on them. Just like Donald Trump, just like it. A lot of examples.
Yeah, it's. I'm just blown away by some of these headline news articles. Bitcoin is in a bubble, and here is how it's going to crash. I mean, Jamie Dimon came out and said Bitcoin is a fraud that will eventually blow up. He compared it to this tulip craze back in the 17th century. And he also said he'd fire in a second any JP Morgan trader who was trading Bitcoin, noting two reasons. It's against our rules and they are stupid. And I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that. I mean, those are such harsh words, but yet at the same time, Jamie Dimon is involved with Ethereum, with these Ethereum Alliance. And so he is, in a way, maybe talking down Bitcoin and talking up his book, talking up Ethereum. I don't know, any thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I want to talk about the thing about his employees. My whole show yesterday was strictly about him. I sent a message to them. I said, if you're trading Bitcoin by now, you probably don't need that job anymore. You've probably made enough money and you could tell him to screw off. We need you, to all the employees over there at JP Morgan, we need you on our side. We need you. We need your expertise. We need your everything that you know. You need to leave that horrible establishment and come to our side. We can use you. That's number one. Number two, to use the word stupid and be in charge of a $400 billion company, a CEO, freaks. Like, how did he get hired for that position? And he's using the kind of language he used yesterday, completely unprofessional. I can't imagine Warren Buffett or some of these people using the language he used. Number two, Now he is a backstabber because he is in Ethereum heavily. So and by the way, there's also a lot of rumors that he is heavy into Zcash. So there is talk out there that he thinks he can move the market, and he said what he said to crash it a little bit and get in. I don't know how much of it that's true or not, but my true belief is it's an enemy of his company. Ethereum and Bitcoin are two completely different beasts. I don't like to compare them at all. See, Bitcoin is completely decentralized. It's scam free. It has no history of scams, no rewinds, no unwinds, no. Unlike Ethereum, where when the DAO happened a couple of years ago and they hard forked to reverse that hack, that to me, they lost all credibility as a blockchain. To me, a blockchain is like a family tree. You can't say, you know what, my grandpa was an ass, let's take him off. You can't. Family tree is set in stone, and so is the blockchain. So for them to do that, they lost credibility, and like Tone Vase always says, they're a scam. So that now we understand why JP Morgan would pick Ethereum over Bitcoin, because they're more controllable, they're more centralized, they can be bought and sold. So that for me also gives more credibility and legitimacy to Bitcoin, and it proves more that Ethereum is a corporate centralized entity.
Yeah, Ozzy, in 2013 October, we released a little micro documentary, and we called Bitcoin the banker's worst fear. And it's just kind of interesting to see what is taking place now, especially one of the biggest bankers in the world, Jamie Dimon, as you call him, comes out and does this. And I'm looking at a chart here. TF Metals put this out, and it was basically showing every time Bitcoin died just in 2017. And there's been this 35% fall. We saw this in January. We saw this again going into April, another 35% fall going into July, August with the hard fork. And then here we are once again, but they keep calling it like it's dead, it's done. Reading articles, it's failed. I read one thing, probably 20-30 minutes ago. Someone said over the last week and a half, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies have been failing. And I'm just shocked. How long are people going to do that before they understand that this is something that's long term, despite price? The price going up, it gives it credibility, and it's growing, and it shows how many people are using it. But, despite the up and downs of Bitcoin, this is not going anywhere.
I like to explain to people that this last election with Donald Trump, if you're smart and intelligent enough to see and your eyes are open, is the biggest example of establishment control of our governments and our banking and our corporations. He won fair and square, but yet every day, Russians did it, Comey did it. It's everyone's fault except for he actually won. So this shows you that the establishment, which is the enemy of Bitcoin, does not give up. They will not give up. Bitcoin can get to a $5 trillion market cap, and they will continue to be called a fraud. Like Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff has lost about half his following because he's cost them millions of dollars they could have made, they missed out on. You cannot be a person with a soul, love humanity, love freedom, and talk down Bitcoin. Either you don't understand it, or you have completely sold yourself out to to these corporate entities, if you will, to these demons. Bitcoin gives you freedom. Bitcoin gives you, it buys you your freedom. If you saved $100,000 and you're 70 years old right now, the $100,000 you saved over the years are not the same $100,000 you have right now. Because that 100,000 30 years ago would have bought you a lot more than it buys you now. The government has a system where you're taxed, you're inflated, you're fined, and you're hospitalized. Most people that get old with a nice chunk of savings die broke.
Wow, that's sobering.
And Bitcoin is here to save the day. It is here to put a stop to that. Here's why the government hates it. They can't tax it, they can't control it, and they can't print it, and they can't stop it. Meaning, they cannot call the bank and say, hey, you know what, put a stop payment on that. I want to dispute that. Let's refund that. Bitcoin is done. Once you push send, it's over. That's why they hate it. It is a complete enemy to them because it gives us freedom. We're not just banked right now. We're central banked. We are the banks. We're not an account holder anymore. We are the actual bank. We make the decisions. Everything is in our control, just like how government was supposed to be.
You know, I'm really shocked at how many people are surprised by what we had last week with the Chinese news, and then this week with Jamie Dimon's comments, and how everyone are still so shocked. Because even if you've been in Bitcoin for 6 months, you would have seen a lot of stuff like this already and already been used to it. Like, oh, this happened time and time again, and it's not going anywhere. But it really goes to show how many new people are coming in and learning about cryptocurrency, that are just learning about it, that have no education on what has happened over the last 12 months and beyond that. And they're so shocked. I mean, I get texts all over the place. Looks like Bitcoin's dead. I have friends of mine who have no clue what's going on with Bitcoin, and it's fine, but it still opens my eyes to, you know, what is going on, because just the slightest bit of knowledge, you would know this has happened time and time again, and it's nothing to be overly concerned about.
Look, the internet came out in the early 90s. I say it didn't get mass adoption till about, I don't know, I'm going to say about 9 years ago, 8 years ago, it really got massively adopted. It took 10, 15 years for it to get fully adapted, before we got easier internet connections, before we got email simplicity, Bitcoin right now is not even an embryo. It's not even an embryo. You're going to get people in general take a long time to adapt to certain things. And right now in the devs, in the world of the developers, their mind is with SegWit, Lightning, where my mind as a YouTuber, educator, and analyst, I want to see ease of use. I want to see grandma not look at a 50-digit XZR634 address and be like, "Well, what is that?" Well, we need ease of use. We need it to be where people are, you know, to this day, even the utmost professionals of Bitcoin still send to the wrong address, make mistakes, lose coins, lose their keys. We need ease of use to get the doubters, if you will, because you gotta understand, most of the doubters are just because they're just don't have the knowledge, they don't have the understanding of what it is. We need to bring ease of use to get that mass adoption, and then we can start concentrating on Lightning and atomic swaps, etc., etc. Now, as far as China, you mentioned China earlier. China has, throughout history, they have been the smartest government or smartest country in manipulating their currency to benefit them. Bitcoin changes that. It's hard to manipulate. You can't manipulate. And China is, Litecoin and Bitcoin got really, really popular in China really fast. I know I'm going to get a lot of slack on this, but the people in China are a lot more tech savvy than we are here. So it's adapting faster over there. And they saw that their currency is losing use, if you will. So this is when they started making a move on it. But let me tell you this. China is not stupid. They control 80% of the manufacturing and the mining of Bitcoin. They're not going to let it go that easy. They're not dumb enough to let it go, because there's many countries that are willing to take that spot for them.
Wow. You know, I mean, I just happened to be looking at a chart here, and, you know, we were only at a $4,000 Bitcoin, what, less than a month ago, you know, or not even a month ago. And people act like we're crashing to nothing. It's amazing that a month in Bitcoin it feels like a year when you really think about it. You know, just so much happens in such a short period of time.
If I can interrupt you real quick, if you go back to, I'm gonna say late June, early July, we couldn't pass 3,000. For the life of us, we couldn't pass 3,000. And then once we passed it, we just blew to like 45. And this is the same thing happening now. Once we passed 3,000, we went to 45, and then we slowed down a little bit. Then we reached 5, and now we're retracting a little bit. We're going to be lingering around this area of between 4,000, maybe 38 to 43. We're going to linger in that area for a little while, and then we just blow up to like 665, and then we'll linger back in the middle fives for a little bit. It's just the way markets work. You cannot have a constant rise, and you can't have a constant drop. But I think what I'm seeing from my experience with charts, I traded stocks for a long time before I got into crypto. This is extremely healthy, extremely healthy.
You know, one of the things Andy Hoffman put out, I believe it was yesterday, he did the calculation, and I believe $6,000 Bitcoin gives it about $100 billion market cap. And really, that's the number where the big money can start investing in securities. You need at least $100 billion for the big money to enter, so there's enough liquidity. And I just want to get your thoughts on the future of big money entering the cryptocurrency space, and specifically Bitcoin at that. I know we talked about JP Morgan being involved with Ethereum, but what about these companies getting involved and investing in Bitcoin, or is there going to be a big fight against that?
He wrote the article yesterday. I made a video about it 2 months ago. The deep pockets, the big companies, the big private, you know, we have more big private companies than we do have corporations. You know, you'll have like 4 or 5 families, they make a company and they buy, like the Lakers were bought that way. Certain baseball teams are bought that way, etc. A lot of these companies are starting to recognize and do their homework on this new technology and Bitcoin. They will be coming in. And in my video, I stated, imagine one day when a company wants to buy out another company, and this company that's getting bought out says, you know what, we'll sell to you at this price, we accept your offer, but we don't want fiat or stock, we want Bitcoin. The minute that company just asks for it, that price is going to blow up. More companies are going to get into it. The minute a company's actually bought and paid for with Bitcoin, that's a whole nother level increase. Then one day, a country is going to tell the United States, you know what, we don't want your fiat anymore. We want you to buy this oil or this wheat or whatever. We would like Bitcoin. Bitcoin, that's the future of Bitcoin to me. I don't see Bitcoin like other people do, to buy coffee and to buy eggs and groceries. We have Litecoin for that. which is a good, clean currency. I see Bitcoin for huge, massive transactions, just like Bill Gates said, which I was surprised he said. He said it was great for large transactions. And that's where I see Bitcoin going. Now, the more these bigger companies get involved, the more other companies get involved with the deep pockets, with the you know, you understand, when a company goes into it and they do their homework, like he said, if it's not worth 100 billion, they don't even, it's put on the bottom of the stack. Even for example, like Warren Buffett, when he's researching companies, that's all he does, all these research companies for sale. If it's not worth $5 billion, it's on the bottom of the stack. If it's not worth 5 or 10 or et cetera, whatever. So everybody has their limit. They don't want to deal with something that's not. So it is going to pass that, and it's going to pass that this year. And you will see deep pockets, because me, myself, I own 6 companies. I own and operate by myself. No partners, no nothing, all by myself. And I regret not getting into it before. I'd heard about it, but blew it off like, it's nothing. It's just a phase. And I consider myself a little bit above middle class, and I ran into it. And now all my friends are calling me every day, help me. I want to get into Bitcoin. I want to get in Bitcoin. And the ladder starts going up to bigger and bigger and bigger companies. And what happened to HBO, even though it was negative coverage, we learned from Donald Trump that positive or negative is a winner. Right?
When it comes to news, you mean?
Yeah, when it comes to news media coverage, negative or positive, get the name out there for us.
Yeah, well, and then as time will show and we get through this, people will learn on a much larger scale, especially now that we saw $5,000 Bitcoin and then see what happens. Everyone's watching it now. And as we see that, as we get through this, we'll realize, and everyone will realize, that Bitcoin is resilient. Ozzy, so last thing before we say goodbye here, you mentioned Litecoin a couple times. What are your thoughts in general? And, are you pretty bullish with Litecoin here in the $60 range?
I own about a 15 gigawatt, 15 gigahash mining farm, all Litecoin. I only sell enough to pay the electricity for it. I am extremely bullish on Litecoin and Bitcoin for the long term. I have 3 kids. I made 3 trésors. Each one is going to have a certain amount of Bitcoin and a certain amount of Litecoin, and that's, when I die, those go to them. The rest is for me and my wife to spend as we get old. That's how bullish I am on Litecoin. Litecoin is the most undervalued, underrated crypto out there.
Wow.
It's got a clean history. It's got a great face behind it, a great guy, honest. He has a brother that owns an exchange in China, a very popular one that does great. It's never been hacked. It's got great security. Great. I mean, look, every cryptocurrency on the top 10 has history to it. Bitcoin and Litecoin are the only one that has a clean history to it.
Wow, that's powerful words right there. Ozzy, I want to thank you for coming on Crush the Street. It was an amazing discussion, and we get to talk about quite a few things here and really explore cryptocurrencies. So if people want to learn more about what you do and the kind of work you're doing, where would they go and what will they find?
First of all, I'd like to thank you so much for the invitation. I respect that so much, and it was an absolute pleasure. You can find me on Twitter or YouTube. Just put in Ozzy the BS Filter, and hopefully you'll link them below in the comment section. And you'll find me there. What you're going to find is you're going to find 3 things. I speak a lot about ambition and will, and why most of us are not rich, which is a very simple thing to happen. You'll find the truth in the news, political news, and you'll see the truth about crypto news. There's a lot of bullshit being spread, excuse my language, a lot of BS out there, and my channel is dedicated to filtering that. And all you get is honest, rough, rugged truth, and that's it. I don't ask for donations. I don't ask for nothing. I just want to spread my knowledge, and that's it.
Good deal, brother. Well, hey, I want to thank you again for coming on Crush the Straight. You're welcome back anytime. And that's it. That's a wrap, everyone. Ozzy the BS Filter. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man.